Turn around, lads.
Now, don't go any further.
Come on, lads. Turn around.
Pigs to the slaughter. Look at you.
Two-way speed. Turn around, lads! Let's one up. Get back in your ranks. Get back in your ranks, I say. Don't pay any attention to those cowards. Listen, lads. 10 miles up that road are the Germans.
Rubbish.
Not rubbish. They're coming. And they're coming fast. You've let them in. They're coming for your wives, your houses, your country.
Your country, officer?
Yes, my country. And
So some of you might be like those of you who like to analyze what's going on with the ICE protests on the one hand and the Mamdani mayorship in New York on the other hand. You might be like kind of like question marks in your brain, like they have been for me. And I want to try to answer some of those question marks and make things a little bit more concrete. The ICE protests where these brave soldiers are going in and arresting illegal immigrants and deporting these radical Muslims and these radical communist illegal immigrants. They're doing a good work because they're protecting our country from radical criminals, pedophiles, rapists, murderers, people that oftentimes come from foreign countries with either socialist, communist, or Russian, I'm sorry, not Russian, but you know what I mean. They have these communist ideologies, and then on top of that, Muslim. And it's all mixed in, and all of it's anti-American. There's a lot of anti-American rhetoric, and there's a lot of hatred for the way our government is set up, and so it seems to be. According to Dr. John R. Rice, who in his book False Doctrines Answered, basically says that communists, hardcore communists, they both follow Marx, both communists and socialists. Communists are usually the street level revolutionaries, people like Antifa. And by the way, Antifa is a German communist group that was created in Germany. It's a communist group. It still is a communist group. There's an article on Antifa. So these street protests and these counter demonstrations and protests that they're always doing against ICE deportations, all right, that's just one thing that they do. That's just one thing that they do. They call people fascists in order to justify that they can kill them or attack them. So they're bullies. They're communist bullies, all right? Now, on the political scene, you have the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. And these people are weaseling their way into the Democrat Party through Bernie Sanders, through, I think there's a man named Schumer, if I'm not mistaken, and Mamdani in New York. And these people work together. Antifa and DSA are not the same, but they overlap. They're not the same, but they overlap. So whereas Antifa is, I think that the money that funnels into the DSA and the money that funnels into Antifa, you could probably find some overlap in the money and where the money is coming from in these groups. And they're a danger to our country. They're a danger to our families. And they need to be arrested by the FBI and deported by ICE. And these people need to be shipped off to Guantanamo Bay if need be. These people are like termites. You know, I was thinking about the word anti-Semite recently. And I was thinking about how the word T comes before Semite. It kind of sounds like termite. Anti-Semite. termite. I like that. What do termites do? They eat away at the foundation of a house. They eat away at all the wood boards so that it collapses, just like termites. And so follow the anti-Semites, just like a pest control guy, just like Terminix. Go in there and exterminate the anti-Semite termites, because that's what you need to do. And legally, of course, but, the FBI has to be deeply involved, and the CIA has to be deeply involved, because historically speaking, J. Edgar Hoover said in his book, Masters of Deceit, which is the top book against communism of all time, it's the FBI. This falls to the FBI. The FBI leads the way with all of this. They're supposed to lead the way with all this. It falls to them, because this is a criminal organization. It has to be charted. It has to be mapped out. And the links between Antifa and the DSA need to be drawn on a board. And faces and names need to be put with it. And a flow chart needs to be made of Antifa and DSA. And these people are all together. They're all together. The No Kings rallies. Antifa, DSA, Communist Party members are all together. They're all there showing their flags. Like, they're not even afraid to be arrested. They should be. They should be afraid to be arrested, because they're criminals, they're traitors, they're insurrectionists, and they want to betray our country, they want to destroy our country. So the Antifa, just to make some sense out of this thing, to simplify it, these ICE soldiers are just trying to do their job. Enforce the law against illegal immigration. Why? Because the president said so, that's why. And he's the commander-in-chief. And he has given an order to deport all illegal immigrants from the country, which is a bold move for him politically. A bold move. And it's being done. But what's happening while these law enforcement agents are going out there is you have all these radical punks, these Antifa street-level communist agitators cussing at the cops, showing how bold they are. Yeah. You just wait until all these illegal immigrants are gone, and then another order goes out to arrest all of the Antifa people. So now Antifa is a loosely connected, decentralized movement of young people that communicate on Discord or something like that. They don't have an office. You can't just go to, here's the Antifa office. Here's the Antifa address. No. It's like they come out of their apartments and then they swarm the streets. And they're mainly communist, ideologically. Some of them call themselves anarchists. Some of them call themselves socialists. Some of them call themselves communists. Some of them call themselves Marxists. Some of them call themselves democratic socialists or DSA or just leftists. Whatever they want to. One thing is for sure. All of them probably have copies of the Communist Manifesto. That's what it boils down to here. It is the influence of Karl Marx, and he is a complete anti-American thinker. Karl Marx is completely incompatible with American political ideology and with American religious freedom. Now, how do we compare Antifa to the Bolsheviks? Well, they're very similar. The Bolsheviks 100 plus years ago were the street-level protesters that supported Lenin in changing in changing Russia from being a normal country into the Soviet Union, a communist, socialist reign of terror. So this is why these Antifa people are so dangerous, because they have the ability, in combination with the DSA, to turn America into a communist country if we just let this thing go unchecked. We should be on top of this. This should be the top thing for the next 10 or 20 years for Republican leaders to be thinking about. This should be the top thing, because according to the Bible, according to Romans 13, he bears not the sword in vain. That's the purpose of the government. That is the purpose of the government. Law enforcement. Law enforcement. To punish the wrongdoer. That's what the Bible defines government as the purpose of it for. Why was King David King David? Because he was a soldier. He was a military leader. He had David's mighty men. So that's the purpose of government. Not police brutality for the sake of brutality. It's police doing their job to enforce the law. The law that brings, and what is the law? The Ten Commandments. More or less in America, it's the Ten Commandments. That's the law, if you want to simplify it. And so our police are here, our soldiers are here to enforce that, to protect that. And we need to understand that these groups are atheistic, anti-Christian, anti-Semites. They're termites. They're termites in our society. They are termites in our society. Now, they're not exactly like the Bolsheviks, because the Bolsheviks combined with the DSA. Antifa is sort of like hard to track, whereas the Bolsheviks were easier to track. The Bolsheviks moved, however, and here's what's really dangerous. When people like Antifa move into the military, that's when it becomes a real problem, because the Bolsheviks weren't able to get anything done until they moved into the military. If you watch the movie Dr. Zhivago, it shows you that the communist revolution did not happen until there was a soldier riot during a battle. There was a war going on, some sort of a war going on, okay? And the army rebelled against the generals because of the communist ideology had spread into the military. So the number one thing is to fight ideology. We can law enforce this thing till the cows come home, but ultimately we need to have preachers and teachers and politicians and speakers demonstrating, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, preaching and speaking, preaching and speaking and speaking and preaching until we faint. Preaching against communist ideology, preaching against communist agenda. And let me say it again, Masters of Deceit by J. Edgar Hoover is the material, all the material you need for that. But this stuff needs to become big time news. And it needs to become big time news all the time for the next 10 or 20 years. This should be the number one thing that Republican leaders are talking about every single day. Anti-communist rhetoric needs to be coming out of not only politicians, but out of the mouths of preachers. We should be having anti-communist books in the Christian bookstores, anti-communist books in Barnes and Noble. There should be all kinds of anti-communist literature just baptizing this country right now. Because that's how you fight it. That's how you fight this wickedness with the truth of God, with the truth of what sets people free. Because, like I said, just watch Dr. Zhivago. It wasn't just Antifa groups causing a ruckus every once in a while that caused the communist revolution. What caused the communist revolution was communist ideas making their way into the military. Once it gets to that point, you've lost control over the arm of the government, and the government's arm turns against the government. That's what caused Lenin and Stalin to get their way. Soldiers got brainwashed by communist ideology. So that's the biggest thing that need to be worried about. Soldiers getting brainwashed by communist ideology. Soldiers, there needs to be military chaplains with a definite anti-Islamic and anti-communist bent in ministry. Chaplains going into the military and preaching against Islam and preaching against communism, and then following up with the gospel of Jesus Christ.